welcome to a fresh episode of Down to Earth, a show where we bring you entrepreneurs who are not only coming up with innovative business ideas, but also changing lives at a very real level. Today we meet Rajesh Bhai, who's been toiling away for years to empower the salt worker in Gujarat. The little run of Kutch in Gujarat is a vast expanse of nothingness. Spreading into the horizon, nothing grows here, the ground parched and dry. Small-scale salt producers who come from their villages every year to work in these plains produce 30% of India's salt. Each family has its own salt pans. They pump water from below the ground and in a painful and highly labor-intensive process, channelize this water from one pan to the other until salt crystals form. It is hard work, and after they take out loans for expenditure and due to predetermined low prices for salt from local traders, they are left with very little in return for their long hours of labor. Rajesh Shah started Sabras in an attempt to free small-scale salt producers from a life of drudgery and exploitation. An architect by training, in 1978 he set up Vikas, a non-governmental organization working with urban and rural poor, and later SAVE, a for-profit social enterprise that provides technological and marketing services to the poor living in coastal Gujarat. Sabras provides services to small-scale salt producers, including procurement, processing and marketing of salt. They buy salt from producers at a significantly higher price than the local traders, process the salt and then sell it to their network of distributors, thereby reducing the hardship of salt production and increasing the salt producer's income. We caught up with Rajesh on a recent trip to Mumbai. So Rajesh Bhai, everyone talks about social entrepreneurship as this glamorous new kind of entrepreneurship. They've coined this phrase and it's really stuck, which is good in the sense that it's attracting more interest, but it's not actually that glamorous, is it?
No, it is not. In fact, the results are extremely slow, sometimes very difficult, and the people who are into this entire sector are also not necessarily equipped to deal with the reality of the business. They would like to make an impact along with financial sustainability and growth. And when you are balancing both the social and the economic, what I call cause and commerce, it becomes extremely difficult for people to really manage both.
And how is that? Tell us some of the challenges that you face. You've been doing this for a long time, in fact. You started off just thinking about the cause, and much later moved into the
commercial part. Yeah, you see what I'm an architect by training, and I graduated around 77. That time I was, and I am still, an angry man, and I felt things are not all right, particularly for the marginalized section of our society. And I felt that to be able to bring them into the mainstream of the economy, we need to ignite the entrepreneurship within them, because it requires a huge deal of enterprise to survive as a poor person in this country. And I thought if I can really aggregate these people and get them into the economic activity. So when I started around 78, I set up an organization called Vikas, which is a non-government organization, and started working with agriculture laborers, small and marginal farmers in southern Gujarat. Where they were bonded laborers. When I started, it was around 20,000 families who were bonded. Gradually I realized and I started mobilizing them, organizing and demanding means of production, because I think unless and until you generate wealth, you cannot really get out of the poverty. And for doing that, these people need to aggregate, organize and demand certain means of production, and then they need to be supported with technological access, credit and market access. So around 95, I set up SAVE Limited, Saline Area Vitalization Enterprise Limited, which was the first for-profit entity, which I set up from Vikas.
Okay.
And I thought SAVE has to be set up as a for-profit entity, and that was my first enterprise that I set up. SAVE in turn have set up three more enterprises, which are largely poor-owned, poor-controlled, and professionally managed, but not poorly managed.
The salt workers bear extremely harsh and inhumane conditions, constantly standing in brackish waters, exposed to temperatures as extreme as 50 degrees in the summer and 3 degrees in winter, challenged by dust-laden winds and unprotected in the harsh desert sun, all negatively impacting their health.
When salt producers die, their feet have to be cut because they are in constant touch with the saline water, and that is a primitive, preliminary quality or type of technology that they utilize to produce salt. Secondly, they only get 1% of the final market value. Now, this is terrible. The salt that you and I eat around 12 to 14 rupees per kg, they only get 12 paisa or less than that. And I thought, first one is inhuman, second one is unjust.
How do they survive?
And this is something which I thought needs to be cracked. And this moved me into sort of talking about how do we really set up something. Now, I sort of sat with about 30 salt producers and I said, look, this is something which is not going to work. Let's try and work towards improving your quality of life through an enterprise. And this enterprise which you have to largely own. So they're in, I don't know whether they understood what I'm talking. But I said, let's set up a company for profit, where you will have 74% equity and I will have 26% from my parent company, Saline Area Vitalization Enterprise.
They must have been very suspicious to begin
with. And they said, like, why this man is coming? And then they said, we don't have money to take equity. And I said, don't worry, give me salt as your equity.
Okay.
And I took salt as their equity and started with 1 lakh capital, where 26,000 came from my parent company.
Okay.
And we started trading in salt,
okay,
where I got cheated by several people, and lost some money in the initial stage.
Because that's not what you were trained
I had
to do.
never, my relationship with salt was only eating. And I had never, before or after.
Right.
Then gradually I realized that this needs to be explored further. And one of the biggest things that I thought was important, that salt producers must climb the value chain and not get only involved into production, but also get into processing and marketing. They must come closer to the consumer, end consumer. And for doing that, I thought Sabras was the right vehicle for that. And I started looking at two sides. One, to reduce their costs, to increase their profitability, and other side, try and find out if they can access consumer market.